let's take a look at our top selections for
Hi everybody, Mike Beer here, taking a look at a couple of stakes races on Sunday's Aqueduct card for the New York breds. A couple of Stallion Series races, $100,000 purses. Let's start with the Thunder Rumble division. This is for the boys. They're going to sprint 7 furlongs on the main track. It's race number 3. Let's take a look at this field. Only 5 entered, but it's 5 pretty good ones. I feel like any one of these 5 horses could have a reasonable case made for them winning here. All of them really contenders in the race. Binkster, the number 2, is sort of an outsider on the morning line at 10-1, but he's got plenty of races, speed figure wise anyway, that are going to give him a chance to win this race for sure. The other thing that Binkster has going for him at a price in this race is the expected pace. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector here, because in a short field like this one, Timeform US expects Binkster to get out there on a clear early lead in that rare gray bar situation, which indicates that there's no speed in the race. Binkster certainly is a speed, and he does look like he's in a spot here where he can get out to a clear early lead. Now, I don't know how slow he's going to get away early in this field, actually. When you take a look at horses like the number 3, Funny Guy, who is your 6-5 morning line favorite, and even the number 4, My Boytate, who's 5-2, they're not necessarily speed horses. I don't think you'd expect to see them on the early lead in here, but they're not exactly slow early. And I just don't really feel like these two horses are going to let a horse like Binkster just walk on the early lead in here and get out to some kind of significant advantage. Maybe it'll turn out that way. If it does, Binkster has a chance to win this race. But I just felt like even if he makes the early lead, he's not going to get too far away. And I wasn't quite sure that he was good enough to beat this field. He certainly has some fast races in his past. I just don't have a lot of faith in him running against horses like this, and I don't really expect him to be able to take this field wire to wire. Let's take a look at the morning line favorite, though. We'll start off talking about Funny Guy, because he's just a really good horse. I don't think he ran his best race of the year last time in the Empire Classic. It was a race where he did wind up going favored over Mr. Buff. They were stretching him out to 9 furlongs in there as he dropped back in to face New York breds, and he just didn't run that well there. I don't think you can really use the 9 furlongs as an excuse. He had certainly run well over that distance a couple of times as a 3-year-old. I just feel like for whatever reason he didn't run his best race that day. I do feel like cutting back in distance really helps this horse, though. His first 2 starts off the layoff this year as a 4-year-old were excellent performances, a 101 Beyer speed figure when he beat Mr. Buff in the Commentator. Then he came right back and he won the Morrissey up at Saratoga over this 7 furlong distance. Won that race very easily once again, a 98 Beyer speed figure. After that, a couple of major graded stakes races in the sprint division. The Grade 1 Forgo, the Grade 2 Vosburg. He ran well in both of those races. 4th in the Forgo over a very wet track, and he had a little bit of trouble on the backstretch in that race. The Vosburg, he was only second best to Firenze Fire. Listen, he ran well in both of those races. He's obviously a very strong fit in here. He's likely to go favored at post time. I won't be surprised if he wins, but you know, you have to be at least a little concerned that he did not really show up in the Empire Classic last time. Turning back is supposed to help him. Getting into a race like this can probably help him as well, but I don't know, at a very short price, it's not like he has a huge edge over some of his rivals in here. I do expect that he'll get a good trip in this race, though. Let's go down to the rail, take a look at T Loves a Fight. He's 4-1 on the morning line. This is a horse who is 0 for 7 so far this year as a 6-year-old, but overall, he's basically run well in most of his races, and in particular, his last 3 starts. I think he's run well in all of those races. Second to Funny Guy in the Morrissey. He came back and ran a good 3rd in the Tale of the Cat, dead heating actually with Binkster for 3rd there behind My Boytate. And then he came back with this performance last time. They dropped him back into an allowance race, optional claiming event. He was rated back off the pace in here. And I felt like he ran well in here. He started to edge closer, 3 wide on the turn. He came 4 wide to the stretch. And you see him here, you know, the winner, Big Engine, just got a perfect run through on the inside. T Loves a Fight comes with a very good rally. He's game on his wrong lead all the way down to the end. He just can't quite get there. I thought all in all this was another good performance for him. Perhaps as far as the pace of this race goes, or the projected pace of this race goes, he is the one who could be most compromised because he doesn't really have a lot of early speed. He doesn't have to be totally outrun. He can keep himself within range if the pace is slow, but it may wind up hurting him more than it hurts some of the other horses in here. That was my concern with him, but I certainly view him as a contender in here. Number 4 is My Boytate. I think this horse is a big player in this race. Let's look at My Boytate's most recent start. They shipped him out to Parks to run in this race. This is a 7 furlong race. It had actually a very fast early pace. So My Boytate sat off it. He was second away from a clear early leader in this race. He just let that horse go on a pretty quick early pace. He chased him around the turn, keeping himself within range, and then you see through the stretch, he's always going to close this horse down. He takes over. He's basically ridden out to the end. Nobody else is running behind him in there. 96 Beyer speed figure. He ran very well in that race, going back to his prior starts in New York. He had run really well to be second in the tail of the cap behind Stan the Man. He finished a good third, I thought, in the Morrissey behind Funny Guy. This horse has plenty of races in his past that suggest he's going to be very tough in here. And I do think he can keep this pace and range. The number 5 is Bank It. He's a horse who has races that would make him tough in here. He's graded stakes placed several times. He just never seems to win. Second once again last time in the Empire Classic. That's where he likes to finish. 8 seconds and 3/3 from his 24 career starts. He's only got 3 wins. He's just tough to take on top, but he's not, totally out of this race. Let's put the picks up there. I'm not way against Funny Guy in here. I suppose in a lot of ways he is the horse to beat, but I didn't think he had to win. I like my Boytate. I like him at this distance. I think he can get the right trip in this race, and if he's not going to be the favorite, I'm just going to take him on top in here. I went 4-1, 3, and 5 in the Thunder Rumble division of the New York Stallion Series on Sunday at Aqueduct. This one goes as race number 3 early on the card. Projected post time for this race is 12:50 Eastern Time. Good luck.